Let me ask you about the endorsement of Biden. How did that, what was the calculation there? I mean, we all know you supported Bernie back in the last time around in 16, and Biden didn't support UBI. So I know you caught a lot of flack for endorsing Biden from some in the Yang Gang. So curious, like, what was that decision process like?
Yeah, so Joe called me the week prior, and we talked about it. And I told him that I appreciated the call, but that I was going to try and let the voters speak, let the process play out, because I thought that was the right approach. And I endorsed Joe after he won Michigan, and I thought that essentially the voters had spoken. And at that point, the race looked to me like a formality. And so at that point, I thought, well, Joe is the presumptive nominee. I've always said that I'm going to get behind the nominee. So I should do this now, because if I just sit it out and like wait for another 2, 3, 4 weeks for it to be even more clear, then I essentially would have done nothing. And at least this way I can help move the process forward and help bring people together. I will also say that I have a good relationship with Joe, have had numerous conversations about him, with him about the problems I was most concerned about, around automation and the fourth industrial revolution. He has called me repeatedly, and like he's someone I can work with very straightforwardly. So to me, this is me living up to what I always said I'd do, which is support the nominee. At the time I made the endorsement, I thought that it was clear that Joe was going to be the nominee. That's even more clear today. And so I thought I'd at least do what I could to help unify the party and bring people together sooner rather than later.
What do you have to say what would you say to the folks who, I mean, I noticed some people took it really tough. Some people really were very sad that you endorsed Biden. And I think their argument was, hey, if you're going for all these really kind of like innovative proposals and policies and new ways of thinking about things, the next name that comes to mind is not often Joe Biden. And so, yeah. What would you say to these folks who are still a little like tender from that endorsement and still trying to process it?
Well, I would say that I consider myself very pragmatic and effective. And the reality is right now, the two most likely people to be our next president are Donald Trump or Joe Biden. And we have to influence the folks who are actually in the seat if we're going to get what we want done accomplished. And it's better to have a seat at the table with the president and someone that maybe needs a little bit more urging or cajoling than to be nowhere near that seat and have the ability to tell yourself that you were very, very consistent in terms of like your message, but that you weren't willing to move yourself in a way that would actually get you in your own mind closer to a point where you could get more things done. So that's what I would say. I mean, I don't know if that's helpful, but to me, the goal is to get universal basic income passed, and it's much easier to do that if you have the ability to like work with different sorts of people, even people that you might not agree with as much initially, particularly if they're going to end up being the thing that stands between your country and Donald Trump's reelection. And I like Joe. Joe has been, I mean, like, stuff happens backstage. Like, Bernie likes Joe too. It's like Joe's actually a really decent, likable human in private. I don't know if he comes across like that, in public, but he's a good man. Like, I'll be happy to see him beat Trump in the fall if that's the way it plays out.